Section 3. You will hear two students who are taking a research methodology course, a girl called Lila and a boy called Jake, having a seminar with their tutor. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
So I gave you both a task to select an article about a small-scale research project.
Yes.
And I required you to have a trial to replicate the procedures of the research in your own context. I mean, try it out yourself. Yeah, and we've done that. Nice. In this way, I want you to tell me a little bit about the article and explain why it started applying crosswords to assist the students to review the exam terminologies.
All right. The article was written by two university professors who had initially used crosswords to help the students revise the terminology for exams.
And the crosswords were designed and installed on computers.
And we selected the article because, though we weren't familiar with the technique, it seems an accessible topic. You know, using IT to design crosswords for higher education.
That's a good reason. So both of the professors would like to see how well this innovation was received by their students.
Yes.
So what has been going on with your reproducing the research?
Well, we collected a series of some terms from our own modules and put them in a list. Then we designed a crossword to revise them.
Then we invited some of our classmates to try out our crossword and then ask for some feedback from them, you know, like their feelings, views, as well as some suggestions about using this technique. Did you find it easy to have people participate in it? Not really. First, you know, it was actually hard, but later when we convinced them by talking about the actual benefit that they will get from participating in this research on preparing for an exam which is coming up later this semester...
It functioned.
Great. So how did you get the feedback from the students that tells you their thought about the crosswords? By a questionnaire. There were 2 pages in the original questionnaire, and it included lots of X-linked questions. But the whole section about difficulties using IT is now out of date. Even the questionnaire had just been finished a few years ago. So, have you done a shorter version?
Sure, and then we emailed it to 40 students and received 28 replies. I was disappointed by the fact, but this was a relatively good result. I mean, the responses we got from them were well written. You know, people did take a lot of care with them, but I was still taken aback with the low numbers.
Yes, for an apprentice researcher, it's an important lesson to learn.
Yeah. Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
So what was your result? Well, basically their feedback was extremely positive. The students said that crosswords on a computer really helped them not to get distracted and stay focused on the work in hand, which is better than other ways of doing the revision that are often disturbed by other things.
Yeah, that was really clear, but I was struck by the fact that they hardly featured having fun in their responses, nor did anything to do with spelling of hard words, which I thought would apparently be a benefit.
No? OK.
The responses also said that the crosswords hadn't really prompted their general motivation to study, but it had highlighted the gaps in their memory, so they could figure out what kind of work was necessary to do further.
Right. So how did your findings compare with those done by the original researchers? There were a couple of similarities, but
we still found two primary differences. Compared with females, more males liked the technique, yet the original findings were the reverse case.
Also, our respondents said they wouldn't mind doing a crossword in the final official exam. Even in the original study, it showed that even if crossword makes exams shorter, they would not like it to be included.
But for informal purposes, of course, both sets of respondents said doing more crosswords would be of great interest to them, like revision and so on.
Right, so let's think about the whole project and what you've learned from it.
Well, it really took a long time.
Yeah, and I don't think we handled that aspect well.
It could have gone worse. I mean, there was not much data collected, so we didn't have to spend ages dealing with it. And since we'd already done a course on numerical data processing, there wasn't much new for us.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, I think the questions we designed were good, so that the data we collected was manageable.
Yeah, it really helped having the original study to guide us, as it were, and that helped us to see what a good instrument research is.
What questionnaires should be like.
Absolutely, we got a lot from that. But when we were writing up the project, we weren't sure on how to acknowledge the work of the original study. You know, our referencing.
No, that's what we both need to learn in the future.
Actually, that part's been great, finding ways to share and support another person.
That's the real plus from the project, learning ways to do that. Well, it's obviously been very successful.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4.